Hey team, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope your week is off to a great start. I don't have a lot for us today, but I do have some things. So, with that being said, let's get to it. We're going to read for 15 minutes today, SSR. And then after that, we've got DGP. We'll be looking at the parts of the sentence. And then I've got 2 poems to review with you from your assignments over the separation. Okay. And then we've got some additional work and some updates. So, with all that being said, let's get to it. If you have not read for 15 minutes today, grab your book and let's read for 15. Pause the video, and then once you finish reading, come back and hit play, and we'll pick up with DGP. If you have finished reading for 15 minutes, then our next thing is going to be DGP. But first, I do want to tell you about my book very quickly. I finally finished, and it was great. So this guy here is the main character. His name is Dell. You can kind of see it there. And then Dell was really interested, not in this person, in this person. Her name is Kira, or Kiera. And he devises this whole plan to spend more time with her. And it totally backfires on him. He ends up being friend zoned, I will tell you that. But then at the end, the girl that he worked with and his coworker, they had a lot of similar interests, and their conversation, it was just easy. Like, he was, just talking to her like he was talking to one of his boys. And then at the end, he kind of realizes that maybe he had been directing his attention towards the wrong person. So, I do recommend it. If you are not into religious type things or texts with religious allusions, I might not check it out for you, just because a lot of the central conflict is with Dell's church and the pastor of that particular church. So if that bothers you, don't check it out. Don't read it. If that doesn't bother you at all, then I do recommend it. It's a cute, lighthearted read. Okay. My next book is going to be American Street. Definitely different from what I've been reading. This young woman, or the main character, her mother is detained by U.S. immigration, and so she has to live with her cousins, who are very, very Americanized, and she is not. So I'm probably going to start that tonight, American Street. I'll let you know about it tomorrow. Let's keep going, DGP. Whoa, that's a new thing. Here we go. I must have drunk 4 cups of cocoa because I was frozen from skating on Lake Kenton. I've highlighted the parts of the sentence for you. Click pause if you want to try it out for yourself and see if you can figure out what the subjects, the verbs, and the phrases are. And if you're ready, or when you're ready, rather, click play and we'll keep going. So I would be your subject. That's who's doing the action. And I, drunk. Okay, so drunk and frozen are your actions. So those will be your action verbs. Of cocoa, from skating, and on Lake Kenton, all of those are prepositional phrases, right? So they all start with prepositions: of, from, on. So at this point in time, if you need to pause and write down your notes, you can do that. You can also type them. However you're taking your DGP, is what I would like for you to do at this point in time. And when you're ready, click play, and then we're going to pick up with our poems from Actively Learn. All right, team. So the first poem is Ballad of the Green Beret. It starts off with asking you a question. Have you ever seen a member of the military wearing a green beret, like the ones pictured below? So here you've got all these look like men wearing green berets. Okay, 60% of you said yes, you have seen someone wear this particular hat, and then 40% of you said no. The main thing you need to keep in mind here is that this is a high honor within the military. Not just anybody can do that. And you see that with question number 1. Only 3, of the 100 men taking the test will pass. Okay, so that in itself lets us know that is not an easy feat. Okay, it's something that we should celebrate if you pass that particular test. And then the third question, reread the stanza that does not end with Green Beret. And what is the effect of having all these other stanzas end with it, but this stanza right here does not? So when you read it, it says, back at home, a young wife waits. Her Green Beret has met his fate. He has died for those oppressed, leaving her his last request. And so when you think about that and look at the structure of all the other ones, they end with Green Beret. Here, the young wife is waiting for her Green Beret, but she will not end with him. So it reflects the young wife's situation. And here you've got, it emphasizes the wife's loss. All right, so that was it for Green Beret. Think about how it connects to Julius Caesar, because it certainly does, especially Acts 4 and 5. That was the key connection there with the battle and the military men. All right, another one of my favorites, because I could not stop for death. He kindly stopped for me. The carriage knew, no. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. This is written by Emily Dickinson. So if you typically enjoy texts that are darker and a bit more morbid, I would actually recommend Emily Dickinson. She seemed to be very fascinated by death for whatever reason. But question number 1, how is death personified in the poem? It's this polite figure, which does not coincide with how people typically think of death. They don't think of death as a polite individual, okay? But here you've got, he kindly stopped for me. He wasn't in a rush. They took their time. They passed all these different scenes. He was very civil. And so the best answer there is as a polite gentleman. I'm really proud of you for not putting as cold, but not evil, or putting as a scared creep. You don't get those images from the text at all. Business-like, he does have a task. He does have a goal. But he's not in a rush. And usually with business, if somebody's business or hyper-focused on something, they are going to be in a rush. They focus more on the productivity and getting those things checked off. That is not the case here with this particular poem. Like I said, Dickinson, she really does focus a lot on death and views it as this beautiful thing that's a part of life, ironically. And so it makes sense that she would portray death in this polite, kind, compassionate manner. Moving on. What surprising information is revealed in the last stanza of the poem? You guys, if you were to take a test and it tells you to look back at stanza 2, you look back at stanza 2. Here it says the last stanza, so we're looking at the last stanza. Since then, 'tis centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day. It's been a while, but it feels like it was just yesterday. So the best answer here was the narrator has been dead for thousands of years. Centuries. All right, and then question 3. How does Dickinson use metaphor to portray death as a transition rather than as an ending? Like I said, y'all, for whatever reason, this female really enjoys the idea of death and dying. That's Emily Dickinson. Like I said, if you really enjoy darker pieces, I would actually put her on your reading list. And so this idea of things stopping abruptly and ending and, things being very chaotic, that is not her relationship with death or how she views it. She does view it as very much a passage and a carriage carrying us from one thing to the other. So that is how it's reflected in her particular poem. Okay, so how might this relate to Julius Caesar, or how does it compare to Caesar? Well, Caesar in Act 3, when he dies, is very much abrupt. There is no passing the school, passing the fields of grazing grain. I mean, he's totally blindsided. Okay, here you might have that in a moment, but death gives you a moment to process it as well. And Caesar, unfortunately, didn't have that processing experience. It was very quick. Then fall, Caesar. Insane. Oh, all right. So let's move on and talk about your additional work. So Julius Caesar questions. Some of you have not completed those, so those are in Classroom. Let's get those done. Your take-home test was open yesterday for you all, so knock it out. Use your resources to assist you. You guys, you can do it. I believe in you. And if you have questions, send me an email. Seriously, this is not a trick. Send me an email. Actively learn assignments. I will review Rise of an Empire and the Shakespearean Language article in Thursday's video. Okay, so try to get those done, or at least, like I said, read through them first, watch Thursday's video, and then go through and answer the questions. I think what I'm going to do, maybe not here on out, but definitely at least for our time together with the 2 weeks of work, the 2 weeks work, is go over the answers, just so you kind of have an understanding of what the heck is happening in the poems and in the articles that we've been assigned. So I'll review those 2 things in Thursday's video. SSR journals, 5 to 7 sentences. Email me. Even if you've been writing them, just take a picture of it and email me. I'll respond to the image. I think that is it for me in terms of additional work. Okay, and in terms of updates, at this point, you probably have heard that we will not be back together until May 15th at the earliest. Okay, we will continue to share assignments and work online. We will continue to email each other if you have questions or any concerns. And we will go from there. Once I hear back from higher ups and county leaders and school leaders what teachers are to do in terms of work and assignments and computer and internet access, all of that information, I will share my process with you going forward and what that's going to look like. Okay, but at this point in time, just make the most of the situation. Continue to be patient with people, you guys. Help out where you can help out, and try to see the good in something. Until next time, be good, take care, and remember that I love you and I miss you so, so much.